It is 9:30 in Athens. That would make it 9:30 in Kiev and 10:30 in Moscow. And this is my morning update for this Saturday morning. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the Hunter laptop and its connection to the Ukraine biolabs, because the Daily Mail UK has found a connection there. But first, I want to just briefly talk about the two media narratives with regards to this conflict in Ukraine, now that we're 30 days into it, and the difference between how the collective West sees it and how the Russians see this, the progress of this invasion or special military operation, depending on which side you're on and how you see things. So let's start with the Russian side of things. So the Russians, they've been very, very secretive and very good at keeping everything under wraps. When they started this invasion, they went in very soft. They went in with the goal to demilitarize and denazify Ukraine. And in the first days, they took out, and they continue to take out, much of the military capabilities of the Ukraine government and the Ukraine military. They've taken out air bases, and they've captured the ports, and they've taken out ammo depots and fuel depots. Just the other day, they took out a big fueling depot, and they've taken out what they call NATO mercenary bases in the West. And they've done all of these things to fulfill the first goal that they had, which was the demilitarization. And so the 8 years of NATO and EU funding for the coup government in Ukraine has pretty much been destroyed by the Russian military. And they still continue to destroy much of the Ukraine infrastructure, military infrastructure. But for the most part, the Russian Ministry of Defense has said that about 85% of the military capabilities of the Ukraine government has been taken out, has been destroyed. And so that's the demilitarization of Ukraine, which is the first goal that the Russians had. And then you had the denazification of Ukraine. And in this instance, what you had is the Russians focusing on the Azov battalions in the east of Ukraine, the big battalion, say 60, 70,000 Azov guys, well-trained, well-equipped, well-funded, in this big cauldron in the east of Ukraine. This was an Azov force that, according to Russia, was ready to attack the Donbass in a blitzkrieg type of manner, to attack the Donbass in March, and the Russians beat them to the punch. And they've pretty much encircled them. They're in the process of encircling them. They've encircled them. They're tightening that encirclement. They've taken the town of ETHEREUM, which is a key town, to complete the cauldron there in the east. And so you have these Azov guys in the east, and then you had a lot of the Azov guys in Mariupol, entrenched in Mariupol, around 14,000 of them. So you had ferocious fights in Mariupol, and that city now has, for the most part, been taken over by the Russian army with the help of the Chechens, and they're in the process of mopping up that city, cleaning out whatever remnants of Azov guys there are. Now, if those Azov guys surrendered, or they managed to escape through some of the humanitarian corridors, or if they were captured while trying to escape from the humanitarian corridors, or if they were killed, it's all part of the denazification process. So for the Russians, one big part of the denazification is destroying and dismantling Azov and all of the NAZI military presence that Ukraine had acquired over the last decade. So the first part of the operation with regard to demilitarization and denazification, the Russians claim is going as planned, on schedule, and the Russians will complete all their goals in full. And a lot of the fighting has been focused on the east. And what the Russians did in order to complete the goals that they had set out on the east, what they did is they encircled Kiev, they encircled Kharkiv, they're in the process of encircling Odessa, and they encircled the major cities, and they pinned down the Ukraine fighting forces in those cities so that they wouldn't be able to provide support to the Azov guys in the east. And so they've pinned them down in Kiev, they've encircled these cities. They have no plan at the moment to enter a city like Kiev or a city like Kharkov. They've just encircled it. There's fighting on the outskirts, but basically the purpose there is to just keep those cities pinned down and not able to communicate with the east, not able to provide logistic support, not able to provide any type of refueling, food, water, etc. Just keep them pinned down and keep them, kind of out of commission for the time being. We've got you guys surrounded. Stay there. We're going to do what we need to do in the east, and we'll come back to you later. And I think one of the most one of the things that provides the most compelling evidence for this, or one of the people that provides the most compelling evidence for this strategy, is Gonzalo Lira, who's in Kharkiv. Because he's in Kharkiv, he's in a city that is surrounded by the Russians, but the Russians have not entered the city. They've allowed water, sewage, internet, Wi-Fi, telephony, electricity. They haven't done anything to take out this infrastructure in the city. In other words, they want those cities intact. And what that strategy is for those cities, no one really knows. Maybe they are going to enter those cities like they had to enter Mariupol, which was ferocious, and a lot of damage was done in Mariupol. But in Mariupol, you got to remember, there was 14,000 Azov guys, and they were in the city center, and the Russians had to go in hard in order to denazify that city. Kharkiv and Kiev, we don't know what the situation is. We don't know how many NAZI forces are in those cities, or what the situation is as far as how those forces are entrenched within the city center there. But the fact that Gonzalo is in Kharkiv and he's able to live stream from Kharkiv, I think is testament to the fact that the Russians don't want to go into those cities which are historic cities for Russians, those cities which have a large civilian population. They don't want to go in there hard. They don't want to go in there and cause a lot of destruction. They would like to capture those cities as much intact as they possibly can. Remember, these are historic cities for the Russian people and the Russian culture. Odessa, Kiev, Kharkiv. These cities have meaning. The architecture has meaning for them. And of course, the civilian population for them has meaning because, as the Russians stated when they first started this military operation, they're not at war with the Ukraine people. They're at war with the Ukraine military. And they want to try to minimize the civilian casualties because the Russians don't want to destroy or conquer Ukraine. They want to capture Ukraine. They want to capture it, and they want to capture as much of it intact as they possibly can. That is the Russian narrative of things. Where they're going to go next, no one really knows. No one knows. My guess would be that now that they've, for the most part, got Mariupol and they're mopping it up, my guess would be that they're going to start looking at Dnipro and Odessa. Maybe they'll leave Odessa last. But if you look at the map, you can see that the Russians have pretty much created a land bridge from Russia, Donbass, Mariupol, Kherson. And the only city that's left is Odessa. And if they get Odessa, then they've got all the cities which are by the sea, and they've created a land bridge then to Transnistria, which is a Russian enclave in Moldova. And so my guess would be they may look to complete what they're doing in the southeast, moving all the way west, or you're looking at Dnipro, which is a city in the center east of Ukraine, a major city, which may be the next city that the Russians may focus on. But no one knows. It's just a guess. It's a guess. Maybe they are going to storm Kiev. Maybe they are going to go hard into Kiev. No one really knows. So that's the Russian narrative. The collective West narrative is that the Russians had a strategy of going in hard, not soft, going in hard, going after Kiev, taking out Zelensky and cutting the head off of the snake, and then claiming victory. That was the collective West's perception of this invasion. That the Russians would go in very, very hard. They would destroy Kiev. They would raze it to the ground, bomb it, shock and awe, demolish Kiev, demolish Kharkiv, demolish Odessa, just go in with missiles and planes and just raze everything to the ground, turn everything to rubble, and go after Zelensky and take Zelensky out and then claim victory. But the collective West narrative said that the Russians tried that and they failed. They had their vehicles were stalling, their tanks were stalling, they were running out of gas, they had poor supply lines, poor logistics, and the Ukraine army, even though the collective West admits the Ukraine army does not have control of the air or the sea, and their logistics are pretty much shot, and their supply lines are shot, the Ukraine army was still able to beat back the Russian military and to defeat the Russian military time after time again and pin the Russian military down outside of Kiev. So for 30 days, according to the collective West, the Russians have tried to storm Kiev day after day, and they have not been successful because the Ukraine military has beaten them back time and time again. And the Ukraine military is so effective, according to the collective West, and there's an article that I've read, many articles that are saying this. The Ukraine military is so effective, I believe this was Bloomberg, that they have more tanks now than when they started this war. In other words, they've captured more Russian tanks, and they've replenished their inventory of tanks, so much so that they have more tanks now ready to go because of the fact that they've completely demolished the Russian army. They've captured all the weapons that the Russian military has. And we've also heard the narrative, and I think we are probably now on day 10. So the narrative was 10 days ago that things were so bad in Russia and so bad for Putin that his government was about to fall. The Russian military was about to concede that it's been defeated, and everything was in disarray, and there would be a new government in place in Moscow. That was 10 days ago. And the collective West media was saying in 10 days, the Russian military will signal defeat. They will say they've been defeated. The military will collapse, and Vladimir Putin's government would then subsequently also collapse. So I think we've hit those 10 days now. Or if we haven't hit those 10 days, then maybe we've got like 2 or 3 more days left before the Russian Federation completely collapses. And so that's been the collective West narrative. They've gone after Kiev. They've gone after Kiev hard. But the Ukraine military has defeated them time and time again. And they're defeating them, even though they're completely outmatched, they're defeating them with all kinds of creative ways. I've heard stories about broomsticks, not an exaggeration, that the Ukrainians have used broomsticks to take out tanks and all kinds of crazy things. I mean, we've seen video game footage passed off as footage of the Ukraine military's victory. So they've actually taken video game footage of helicopters being shot down, and they've said this is what's going on in Kiev or in Ukraine at the moment. Anyway, the fog of war, disinformation. So those are the 2 narratives that I wanted to present to everybody. The reason I want to kind of focus in on these 2 narratives is the first one is where's the Russian military going to go now? The Ministry of Defense said that the first phase of operations has pretty much been completed, and the second phase is going to begin soon. So I believe that the first phase of operations was tied to Mariupol, and now that Mariupol has been taken, and most of the east and the southeast, all the way to Kherson, has been captured by the Russian military, you're going to be looking at the next phase. And I said the next phase will probably be the liquidation of the Azov guys in this cauldron in the Donbass, and then going after Dnipro, and then probably looking at Odessa. That's my guess, and I could be completely wrong. The collective West is saying, what's next now? And these are where the articles I read yesterday are very interesting, and I'd like to share that information with everybody. So the collective West said, okay, the Ministry of Defense of Russia has said the first phase has ended. But what do they mean? And I'm speaking now on behalf of the collective West media and the pundits in the collective West. The way they interpret it is as such. They're saying that the Russian military has failed in their first objective, which was to take Kiev and to go hard. They failed at doing that. And now they are shifting focus to the east of Ukraine because that's the only part of Ukraine where they have a chance of having any type of success in this operation. Keep in mind, at the same time, the military is about to surrender as well. And the Russian government's about to collapse. But anyway, the narrative now by the collective West is that the Russian military is changing their plan. They've had a change of plans. They're not going to focus in on Kiev because the Ukraine military is just too mighty and too strong, and Zelensky is too powerful a military strategist, too great a leader, and Now the Russian army is saying, you know what, let's retreat to the east and let's focus on the east of Ukraine and fight the war there. That's the narrative coming out of the collective West. What's going on? Well, and they also have the other narrative, which is a chemical weapons attack. So they're really talking about the chemical weapons attack. And of course, that's also tied into the fact that the Russian military has been completely unsuccessful in their goals. So the narrative there is that they've had such a loss in their objectives in this conflict, and they've been so discredited, and they're so disillusioned, and they're so angry. Putin is so angry with what's been happening in this conflict that he's going to lash out, very much in the same way that they say Assad lashed out. He's going to lash out, and he's going to release chemical weapons on the Ukraine people in order to take out his frustration and his evil revenge. That's the narrative there. That's why he's going to do some sort of chemical attack, because he's a mad, crazy dictator, and he's been so soundly defeated by Zelensky that his only option left now is to unleash chemicals on the people of Ukraine. Doesn't make any sense given the fact that they haven't gone after any of the civilian infrastructure like water, sewage, electricity, and stuff like that in order to punish the people of Ukraine. If Vladimir Putin's goal is to punish the people of Ukraine, the fact that they haven't gone after the sewage system, for example, all right, doesn't make any sense that he'd now unleash a chemical attack. But anyway, that's the narrative. It's the same exact narrative they used in Syria. Copy-paste script. They took the script from Syria and they moved it over. But the other reason why we're hearing the narrative now coming out of the collective West as being that Russia is giving up on Kiev and they're changing their plans and they're going to focus on the east is real simple. This is the only way they can explain the imminent defeat of the Ukraine military in the east. It's the only way, because they haven't reported on what's going on in the east for 30 days. They've completely ignored it. And now what they need to do is figure out a way to shift gears, start reporting from the east, and explain it to their readers and to their viewers why all of a sudden you have 70,000 Azov military guys about to be annihilated. How do you explain that? How do you explain the fact that much of the southeast of Ukraine has been captured and is now being Russified? Re-Russified is a better word to say it. They're going onto the ruble, Russian media, Russian television. How do you explain this to the readers and the viewers of, say, CNN, who for 30 days have heard that the Russians are trying to take over Kiev, but they're such a poorly trained military and the Ukraine army is so good that they just can't take Kiev, no matter how hard they try? How do you explain that to them? Well, you say that they're shifting their focus east. And how do you explain to them that a big chunk of the Ukraine military is about to be annihilated in the east, and that all this territory in the east, which is, as Alexander pointed out, about the size of the United Kingdom, all this territory in the east, which has been taken by the Russian military, is in control of the Russian military? How do you explain that to your readers? Well, you say that it was a shift of focus. Once again, this hasn't been happening for 30 days. This is quick. 30 days, the Russians tried to get Kiev, and then all of a sudden they said we're going to focus east, and voila, here they are. They've all of a sudden they've got all this land, and they control all this territory because, well, they had to change focus. They had to change gears, and so that's the situation. That's how the media is going to explain the defeat of the Ukraine army in the east of Ukraine. It's a shift of focus that happened all of a sudden because the Russian military was so bad in taking one city and just taking Kiev. They were so bad at doing that they just decided to take over a swath of land the size of the UK in the east. And this happened very quickly, just kind of out of the blue. Can't take Kiev, at least let's take up parts of the east of Ukraine. So anyway, that was kind of long, but I wanted to get that out there. Going now to Hunter Biden real quick and the Hunter Biden laptop story. Well, the laptop story is now apparently connected to the biolab story in Ukraine. And this is from the Daily Mail. And I'm just going to read it out to you from the Daily Mail. Very anti-Putin, very anti-Russian. But they have the laptop, and they dug through Hunter Biden's laptop. And what did they find? Well, they found documents and information that connect Hunter Biden and Burisma to the biolabs in Ukraine. And the title from the Daily Mail says, Hunter Biden did help. Hunter Biden did help, and that DID did is capitalized, did help secure millions in funding for U.S. contractor in Ukraine specializing in deadly pathogen research. Laptop emails revealed, raising more questions about the disgraced son of then Vice President. Let me read you the bullet points. The Russian government held a press conference Thursday claiming that Hunter Biden helped finance a U.S. military bioweapons research program in Ukraine. However, the allegations were branded a brazen propaganda ploy to justify President Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine and sow discord in the U.S. But emails and correspondence obtained by the DailyMail.com from Hunter's abandoned laptop show the claims may well be true. May well be true. The emails show Hunter helped secure millions of dollars of funding for BITCHUTE, a Department of Defense contractor specializing in research on pandemic-causing diseases. He also introduced BITCHUTE to an allegedly corrupt Ukrainian gas firm, Burisma, for a quote-unquote science project involving high biosecurity level labs in Ukraine. The president's son and his colleagues invested $500,000 in BITCHUTE through their firm Rosemont Seneca Technology Partners. They raised several $1 million of funding for the company from investment giants including Goldman Sachs. BITCHUTE, whatever this company is called, connected to Rosemont Seneca, connected to Burisma, connected to the Ukraine biolabs, all of it in documents on Hunter Biden's laptop. And of course, in Rosemont Seneca, it's not only Hunter Biden, you have Devin Archer. I believe at one point in time you had Christopher Hines, who's the stepson of John Kerry. That's coming from the Daily Mail, not coming from a Russian propaganda news outlet, not coming from Putin trolls. That is coming from the Daily Mail UK. So make of it what you wish. I'll put a link to that article down below. I'm going to end this video. This was a long video. But anyway, it's a Saturday morning and we're having a conversation. And so I thought I would just get out some explanations of where we are in these 30 days. An explanation of where we are in these 30 days. Saturday morning. My English is not very good this Saturday morning. Anyway, guys, I will leave it there. The Duran.locals.com. Which way do I want to go? I want to go this way. The Duran.locals.com. Check out Alexander's channel. Check out the Duran's channel and the videos we're posting there. Take care.